My name is John Chang. I live in Surprise, Arizona. I served in Vietnam in 1968, 1967 to 1968. From March of 67 to April of 68.
And what capacity did you serve when you were there, John?
I was a corpsman, combat corpsman, MOS 8404. I served with the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines in combat, and my job was to give first aid and do my best to keep them alive.
You serve.
Michael Regan. I live in Edmonds, Washington, north of Seattle. I was in Vietnam in 1967 and 68 at the DMZ. My initial fire base, which was how we were located in the war, was called Con Tien, the summer of 1967, and it was the closest fire base to North Vietnam. It was 1 mile from the DMZ. So everything that came to us first.
What was your, what capacity did you serve? What was your rank?
I was 0311 rifleman. Part the way through my tour, I became a squad leader. So I had some people I was responsible for other than me and all my friends. We're really responsible for each other anyway, all the time. But, I was given that responsibility and I was proud of that. And, but it's tough to have that responsibility for what was supposed to be 13 other people.
All right, my name is Tony Milazzo. At the time in 1967, I was a 20-year-old Navy hospital corpsman, and I was assigned to the 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, 1st Platoon, as a corpsman. For those that don't know what a corpsman is, it's the Marines combat medic. It was November 1967. Like I said, I was 20 years old. I'm from Paterson, New Jersey, currently living in West Milford, New Jersey. Had no idea what I was getting into, and an immediate connection between the Marines that I served with and the corpsmen. I realized that it's a very close relationship. There were 2 of us to a platoon, and the 2 of us were responsible for all the medical needs for about 55 Marines. And at 20 years old, scary to say, I was one of the older people.
My name is John Nunn. I live in Belen, New Mexico. I was a hospital corpsman assigned to the Marine Corps in Vietnam, 1967 to 1968.
And did you serve beyond that too, after 68?
Oh, yes. I still had, after I got home from Vietnam, I still had another 1.5 years of duty to serve. And that was the hardest, I think, of my life.
Now, what's interesting about your service in Vietnam, John, is that you served at pretty much the same time that Vinny served, but you never saw each other while you were in country. Is that right?
That's correct. We wrote each other, but never saw each other.
Right. And obviously you and Vinny, the interesting part about this is you and Vinny were childhood friends. So if you could paint a portrait of who Vinny was growing up back in Jamaica, Queens, before he was the Marine in Vietnam.
He was a hell of a good guy. Young man, we all were young at that time, 54 years ago. Huh? But he was a good son to his mother and father, and a good brother to Lily and Carmine. And he was one hell of a great friend to me.
Vinny was part of our rear unit. I always knew him as the mailman. What Vinny was, he was the connection to our rear area, which was the connection to our home, which was the connection to our sanity. Vinny represented that connection. Without him, we didn't have it. Without it, the insanity of where we were, what we've gone through, the things that the book kind of describes, you couldn't make sense of it. So you had to grab hold of something, and Vinny was it. That's why we all loved him.
Well, he was just an all-around good guy, and he brought us mail and, you know, food occasionally, and, you know, just the main thing was the mail. Um, and it just made a difference in your day or your week if you got a letter.
How did you come to learn of Vinny's death? Where were you, and what happened as a result of that?
I walked in, he said, "Hey, Doc, sit down, I want to talk to you." I said, "Before you start, if it's any problems, leave me alone. I didn't go off base, and I'll leave you right now." He said, "No, no, just calm, take it easy. Just sit down. I want to talk to you." And then he basically told me that Carmine arose, Mr. and Mrs. Santaniello. So he screws my head. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, he screws my head up.
Sorry, John.
Said, "Mr. and Mrs. Santaniello request that you bring Vinny's body home. He was killed in Vietnam." So less than a freaking day out of Vietnam, I'm getting news my best friend is killed. He said, "I'm sorry, Doc, but we're gonna have to find your sea bag. You're gonna have to get into, change out of those fatigues and get your uniforms, and we're gonna send you back to the States to escort Vinny's coffin back to New York."
It was a quiet morning. All of a sudden, we started getting mortar attacks and artillery attacks. And we heard corpsmen up as we were running around, and somebody yelled, "It's Saint." And what happened, everybody froze for a second, and then we started moving to where they were calling us. There were 3 other Marines at Saint's location who were DOA. They were dead when we got there. Saint was still alive. Mike Reagan was able to get Saint out from under his Jeep, brought him downstairs in the command post bunker, where John and I and Gene Holtzman, our company corpsman, were tasked with doing what we could to save Saint. He had serious wounds, and we did whatever we could. Unfortunately, it wasn't good enough, and Saint passed away from his wounds.
And there wasn't anything anybody could have done. But, he got to die in Michael's arms, and me and Tony Milazzo were working on it, but he was gone. To my recollection, he was hit in the femoral artery with shrapnel. So he was going to bleed out, even if he'd been in an operating room at that time.
Every time I open my iPad to get my emails and stuff, Vinny's face is on my iPad. He was my best friend, and he still is my best friend.
Why do you say that?
I don't get close to anybody. I don't.
How did it feel to read a book in which you were featured as a main character? Was that strange to you to read a book and see your name and representations of things that you had done, and
Yeah.
creative ways of describing who you were back then?
Yeah, I was a little embarrassed that I had the most potty mouth of anybody. That's putting it mildly.
All of Vincent's life and that day changed me totally, as I've said. It was hard for me to put into words all the things I wanted to say about the book, because I know how important the book was to you, and I tried not, I mean, I'm just gonna sound terrible. I tried to write the forward without pleasing you. I tried to write the forward by pleasing me. I needed to say something. How do you talk about, how was I gonna write a forward about a book that's addressing the issue of the man who's now dead, who changed my life for the best, and a lot of other people's? It's an impossible task for an artist. You, as an incredible writer, you probably could have done it, but I was trying to do it. I didn't want you to do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I'm very proud of it. I've read that forward a number of times. There's nothing I would have changed in it. So I think I'm proud of it. Proud to be a part of all of this.
You did a
Yeah.
wonderful job writing this book. That's my impression.
I don't want to end this on a sad note, so I want to end it on a funny note, but I want you to assume that this book is somehow adapted into a movie. Who's playing John Chang in the movie?
If he was Asian, I'd be Denzel Washington.
I have a really good friend, and he's a great actor, and he's incredibly good looking. His name's Jim Caviezel.
Bring Al Pacino back from the 1970s. Let him play me.
Little Michael Corleone, you're saying you look like Michael Corleone back in the day?
I guess she said, that, Michael Corleone, and I just laughed. So you said have fun with it.
I would like it to be Paul Newman or Steve McQueen, but that's not going to happen. So